G'day, folks. Today I'm going to do an AFL Fantasy team reveal. So, yeah, hope you enjoy. So, in defense, and these two were actually the last two players picked. It just so happened that to fill up my salary cap and to use it all up, really, I needed to put in players around this price point. So, yeah, I went with Stewart and Cumming in the end. I think Cumming has a little bit of scoring upside, and Stewart, yeah, look, if he gets hurt, I can easily trade out, but at least I think he sort of roughly holds his price. So, all things considered, compared to the other options, I think that's good enough. Dacos, I think there's scoring upside with, and yeah, look, I found defense really hard to pick in AFL Fantasy, and Supercoach I found there were a lot better sort of mid-priced value players, but I'm finding in AFL Fantasy there's a lot more that just aren't at a price point that I feel comfortable paying. So, given that, I'm more than happy to bring in Dacos, who, yeah, look, he can rack up the footy, and I think he'll improve on his average. At least a little. So he could be a stepping stone potentially if he doesn't end up being a keeper, which he very well could if he becomes a mid. Yo comes in at a reasonable price point. I'd like him to be cheaper, but yeah, just again, fits my structuring. Constable and Ginbey I like sort of on the field, and Wilmot I like on the bench. And Sin Cotter is probably my preferred other bench option if named round one. And for those of you wanting to know some of the other good rookie options, bench options, some structuring ideas as well, I go through all that in my Supercoach video. But I admit in saying that with AFL Fantasy, you will need to structure up a little bit differently. So it won't all apply, but you'll find at least sort of the number of rookie names that I bring up will be helpful for the purposes of your AFL Fantasy team as well. So I'd encourage you to check out that video as well. But yeah, for midfield, so you've got Josh Kelly, Tom Greene, both have scoring upside from my perspective. So yeah, I like having them in, and I think Kelly's really going to score a lot. So when you've got the likes of Taranto and Hopper gone from that midfield, they're going to score well. Warple I like at the price point. Callahan, there's definite upside in. And then for the rookies that you definitely must be fielding, you've got Ashcroft and Mackenzie. They're going to score big and make you a lot of money. So you don't just want them in your team, but on your field. Jack Bytel, Will Phillips, I'm okay with having on my field. They don't have to be on your field. Depends on how you want to structure your team. But yeah, I just saw a lot of value in the rookies up forward, and it really, in the midfield, and it really sort of helps the rest of my team come together. And sort of fill in the players at the price points that I want. So I've gone particularly expensive up forwards. So it turned out that it was pretty much a necessity to go pretty cheap in the midfield. But one thing I could also consider and justify is going cheaper in defence as well. There's quite a few rookie defence options as well that are quite viable. But the problem then would be that you wouldn't get the scoring on the field that is optimal. So that would be sort of the thing you'd have to weigh up, where a Wilmot and a Sin Cotter, they may or may not score a heap. So they're not necessarily going to score as much as, say, a Bytel or Phillips, in my opinion. So given that, I'd much rather have them on the field and go a little bit cheaper in the midfield as required, and then I can always get in the good midfielders later on as the season progresses. So depends on how you want to approach things there. On my bench, Hollands and Filippo I think are fine for the bench, but I don't think they'll necessarily score as much as my field options. So that's why they're there. But I think for job security, both Hollands and Filippo hold their spot and at least score reasonably and make reasonable money. I don't think they'll make as much as people are going to assume. With Filippo playing, it looks like most likely forward, that's going to put a cap on his scoring, and Hollands will be playing on the outside for Carlton just to utilise his elite endurance. Rucks, I've gone English Marshall. Not convinced on English, but yeah, look, if he's healthy, he's got the chance to be, if not the top scorer, probably the second top scorer to Marshall would be my thinking at this stage. And then with a Radigolia, I think is the most likely to be a regular. So I think as that sort of insurance policy on the bench, he's probably the smarter of the plays, would be my thinking at this stage. But yeah, you could certainly look at some cheaper options if any of them are named in round one and likely to hold their spot for a few weeks. That could also be considered equally. In terms of forwards, so you can really see that I've loaded up pretty expensive with my forwards. So Dunkley, Cornelio, Taranto, Rosie, and Goulden, I think they've all got scoring upside. So when you've got premiums that also have scoring upside, well, it's pretty hard to leave them out ultimately. Sheezel, look, I think he's field worthy, so you can definitely field him. And then with Greene and Pedlar, they're suitable bench options who are going to make money. So yeah, that's my team. But yeah, any questions, let me know in the comments section below, and yeah, I'll see you in the next video.